He was driving somewhere between Gallup and Winslow on an old stretch of Route 66. At the end of his rope, looking for hope, but he found this old bar here instead. The neon was dusty, the door hinges rusty, on the window a handwritten sign. Between the Paps and the Coors and the two swinging doors, faded words, but he read them just fine. If you cheat, hope it's death that you're cheating. If you lie, lie with someone you love. If you fight, do it for the right reasons. If you drink, then come drink one with us. The whole place was packed. The waitress waved him on back, set him up on the last stool. She said, man, I can tell you've been going through hell. Well, we've all come out of there too. And we live by our own golden rule. If you cheat, hope it's death that you're cheating. If you lie, lie with someone you love. If you fight, do it for the right reasons. If you drink, then come drink one with us. All we can do is the best that we can. So we're all sinners, forgivers, and friends. If you cheat, hope it's death that you're cheating. If you lie, lie with someone you love. If you fight, do it for the right reasons. If you drink, then come drink one with us. If you drink, then come drink one with us. Drink one with us.
And welcome to another edition of the True Patriot Outfitters Podcast, special All American Kayak Series edition. Folks, you were just listening to my good friend and one of the anchor members of the Stop 22 Tour, Mr. Chris Turner. And you can get his music on any of your favorite music platforms. Definitely do go get out there, take a look at us. Check out the Stop 22 Tour. Tonight's episode brought to you by Romans Warrior Foundation, the True Patriot Outfitters, and the Stop 22 Tour. Helping is healing. Even if you think you can't do something out there, you absolutely can. Just likes, shares, follows, spread the mission out there that we're on to continue to work. If we have to do it one veteran at a time, that's exactly what we'll do. All right, that's covered. Listen, man, it's the All American Kayak Series. The crew is heading north and east. This is one of the further stops on the trail, heading to bucket list item, Lake St. Clair. Man, this is, I mean, if you're a bass angler if you're just an angler of any kind and St. Clair isn't on your bucket list, you're smoking the devil's lettuce, because this place is amazing. It's gorgeous up there, especially this time of year. Dude, the fish they grow up there are just not like what we see out here. The fish, it's one of the healthiest fisheries, on the planet, let alone, here in America. And so this is setting up to be an awesome derby up there for sure. The boys, I'm sure, are going to be putting on a show. Got a few in the crowd there that are obviously some favorites, as they are smallmouth whisperers. But nevertheless, hopefully we'll see somebody knock them off their throne. But as usual, what we have done in this case here is we reach out to the local area there and look for one of the more premier guides and anglers in that area to just kind of give us the basics of what everybody's going to be going up there and seeing when they get there. Obviously, we're not asking any guide to spill the juice on any level, but talk about the area, learn about the guide service that's up there. And so it took a little bit to track down this guy, because he is one busy dude. His schedule stays packed between fishing tournaments and then, of course, his guide service being his bread and butter. And man, this thing, we are super excited to have Gerry from Great Lakes Bass Fishing Services. Hang on, I'm going to get this right. Great Lakes Bass Fishing Guide Service. There it is. I'm old. And I just got back from a 2-dayer over in Red Willow, Nebraska. So we're trying to get back in the swing of things. Without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in Gerry into the studio here. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. Good. Listen, first and foremost, thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule, dude. It's like 9 o'clock plus there. You're just getting the boat back in, aren't you?
Yeah, we had a great day on the water today. We had some really nice weather, and I've actually got a couple anglers in from Houston for 2 days, and just got through with some guys from Oklahoma. They were in for 4 straight days, so we get a lot of people from out of town visiting here.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, you're up in an area of the country that is just flat out gorgeous up there, and it's just that St. Clair is legendary, man. I mean, it stayed off the radar, from the mainstream for a long time until people started, I think skills caught up to what that fishery had to offer, and now, yeah, I mean, if you're in bass fishing, dude, you better learn to go chase the big mean browns up there, because those things are just, you guys grow them different up there. What are you feeding them?
Well, you got to remember, we've got a real fertile fishery up here, but more importantly, like most of the northern fisheries do, we have a closed catch and release season that does not allow tournament fishing where you can put them in your live well until the 3rd weekend in June. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons that the lakes up here stay good. It's the closed season during the spawn.
That's awesome.
That's one thing that I really like about the kayak series. You guys do a great job promoting the catch and immediate release of the fish.
Yes, sir.
That's kind of mimics the Major League Fishing style. And by the way, they're here the last week of June too.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, man, it's a staple of the kayak community is the conservation piece, and we try to leave no trace anywhere we go. I mean, I came over from the boat world, and I tried to do it as many times as I could on the boat world as well. It's a little bit more in your face with a kayak, just because you're so more intimate to the water, the things you're seeing out there. It's every time I go out, it's inevitable that my net is used to grab something that I see out there, or fishing line that we grab, snag into. Got a ball of fishing line sitting in the back of the yak that we, pulled out of the water there that we hooked into. And it's part of that deal, man, is the catch photo release is a cool thing. And we don't disturb them that much. They're out of the water from, 30 seconds to a minute. Most of the time while we're getting everything set, a lot of guys will put them in our net and just leave them in the water, as we're getting the measuring board and the phone ready to go. Then we bring them up, get their model picture, and off they go.
Yeah, and up here, in the last, I would say 4 or 5 years, I mean, I've really seen a lot more kayak activity. I know they already had a big tournament up here, I think, in April.
Yep.
And man, sometimes you guys are crazy. That giant water, you're way offshore, and the waves and stuff like that. I kind of shake my head a little bit.
Well, you and me both, brother. Trust me, you won't catch my butt out there that far.
Right.
If I'm more than a cast away from shore, I start getting nervous anywhere I go, man.
You got to be more than a cast away from shore out here for sure. But if you've got nice weather, though, it's definitely doable up here.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So that was, so let's, before we get too far into the St. Clair, let's talk about you, man. So you've got your guide service. How long have you had the guide service rolling?
This is my 27th season, believe it or not.
Wow, you don't look old enough for that.
I've kind of retired from tournament fishing. I don't do it anymore, not even on the local level. I did it for a long time on the national level, and, there was a time in my life where that's what I thought I wanted to do, and I kind of got it out of my system, saw the country, made a lot of great friends all over the place. Had a few flashes of brilliance, but they were few and far between. But it was a great time, and I'll be honest with you, I don't miss it at all. I enjoy my customers. I enjoy fishing on one of the best bodies of water in the country.
No kidding.
And that's just kind of where I've made my niche.
That's awesome, man. So yeah, that's the tournament stuff. It's I can tell that when the time does come for myself to finally hang up the tournament side, I don't think I'll miss it either. As long as I check off a few things. We're still missing a couple things that we got to check off and we got to do that we're chasing out there. But yeah, I mean, if you had the opportunity to be where you're at on that body of water, I can totally understand that, brother. That would be amazing to do that. 27 years guiding up. Has it always been on St. Clair, or has it just been around the area?
It's most of it's centered on I would call it the St. Clair system, which includes St. Clair, Detroit River, a little bit of the western basin of Lake Erie, and the St. Clair River, and Saginaw Bays. I've been fishing that place for 20 years. It's gotten popular. We do some of the bigger inland lakes in Michigan. I'll have clients where we'll take a week and go up north and kind of get away from the city if you want to. Yeah. So Michigan has a lot to offer fishermen. For sure.
And you're from the Dearborn area there. I mean, I take it, was it fishing just always been in your blood, man? Is that the...
Yeah. I mean, I started with my grandparents when I was 4 or 5 years old. We have a family cabin in northern Michigan, and that's where my earliest memories of it come from. And, I graduated with a degree in biology from Eastern Michigan University. Nice. I worked five years at an environmental lab right out of school, and was fishing tournaments on the weekends and started guiding a little bit. And this is just kind of where things fell into place. I never intended to do it as a full-time career.
That's awesome. It's funny how it takes you there. And, the old saying, man, love what you do. You never work a day in your life,
Right.
Because, that's not an easy role. People don't realize there's a lot, and there's a lot of responsibility, a lot of mental and physical that goes into being a guide. It's not just as easy as, hey, grab a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and go fishing. There's a lot that goes into that, and the responsibility factor that you have for those folks when you take them out there.
And, especially when people come in for 4 or 5 days from out of town and we hit a nasty front and the wind's blowing 30 miles an hour, and people aren't going to want to sit in the hotel room and sit the day out. There's times, I'll admit, where I don't want to be out there when it's like that, but
kidding.
Trying to make the best of somebody's trip when you're dealt some inclement weather is probably one of the toughest things for me anymore. But if we just have average conditions here, we don't have too many bad trips here. We've got a great, healthy fishery. And like I said, the closed season during the spawn is probably the biggest factor that contributes to that anymore.
So I lived in Minnesota for 10 years, and they had a very similar setup there. Usually bass fishing would open up somewhere around Mother's Day, usually, and 2 weeks usually prior to that, it was catch and release only. But they held it off there and tried to keep people from disturbing it too much. So your screen is a little froze there. Are you still there with us, Gerry? Yeah, your audio's kind of chopping up there a little bit. Now you're coming back around there.
Okay.
Let's see here.
You look fine to me.
Bandwidth. Yeah, I got your screen is locked. Once it opens back up, I'll maximize your screen back up here. But
okay, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you just fine.
Okay.
Perfect. So that's, like I was just saying, Minnesota does a similar piece where they try to protect, that area there. And so, yeah, it's not uncommon. And yeah, that's sometimes, you could use that, especially on the high pressure areas. We don't mind seeing that. And like you said, in the kayak game, man, we're little to no trace, when we go through. So it'll be cool to see the guys. So we're talking St. Clair here, 430 square miles, roughly, an average depth of 11 feet. That seems kind of odd to me when I think about the smallmouth, factor on this. I think of like, Mille Lacs or whatever that's got some deeper areas with boulders and so forth that you can grab there. Oh, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep. Now I got you.
Yeah.
But yes.
Okay. It's unique. I mean, remember, between Lake Huron and Lake Erie, it's fed by very cool, clean water.
Hey, Gerry. Yeah, you're busting up pretty. Try killing your camera real quick.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna get in a new spot here and see if I can't get a little closer to my signal here. I actually shut the garage door here just to keep the sound and stuff down from outside, but
I appreciate it, man.
Let's see if I can't get a better signal here.
There you go. We're getting your audio better now. You're not scrambled on the audio side.
How about now?
Yep, I can still hear you okay on the audio. So, yeah, go ahead.
You got me now?
That. Yep. Yep. Verizon.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's basically the last spot between the two rooms. It's a very unique.
It's busted up again. What in the heck? Just when you start talking, it starts to bust up. I love technology, bro.
Let's see.
Just choose on the bottom there. You should see an area where you can say stop cam. Go ahead and click that. Oh, there you are.
Got me?
Now I got your camera, but it's the video is a little bit lagged on it. Just try choosing the stop camera so it kills the camera. It'll keep your audio going, and we'll see if that helps pick up the connection. Oh, he disconnected. That was not what we wanted. So until Gerry comes back here, I might have to help him with that real quick. But until Gerry comes back, so we're talking St. Clair here, All American Kayak Series, heading into town. This thing, it's a smallmouth fish factory. There's no question about it. And we were just starting to get into, and I apologize, folks, we're watching here. This is the trials and fun stuff of going live. I can't edit this stuff out later. Hang on one sec here, folks. Let's see. I can't put him into the stream yet. See if he gets that message there. So yeah, we've got we're talking Lake St. Clair here. 430 square miles. This place is a big body of water, traditionally known for a lot of offshore fishing for sure. So it's going to be interesting seeing how the anglers basically work with finding that offshore and seeing what the weather is going to do. I have not looked at the weather report going into this, so that should be when Gerry comes back here, we'll talk with him about what the weather's going to be looking like and how the lake's been fishing up to this point here and see what we can get. While we're waiting for Gerry to reconnect, check out the All American Kayak Series and the schedule there. Here we go. And get signed up for the next event that you can get to, man. It's well worth the trip. And there you are, my friend. Now I got you back.
I'm in a better location here with a good Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah, you are. There we go. Okay. Hey, I appreciate you working with us on that, brother.
Right.
Thank you. So we were talking about St. Clair, 430 on the square mileage, 11-foot average depth.
Right. And one of the things that makes it really unique is it's basically a wide spot in between Lake Huron and Lake Erie. So you've got all that cool, clean water from Lake Erie that constantly, pumps millions of gallons a minute, literally, into the lake. Keeps that current flow going through there, and eventually it exits out of the Detroit River. And if you think about it, there's really no other system like that in the country.
Does it see ever like a fluctuation on water levels? I mean,
no,
that much? It just stays pretty consistent?
It doesn't. There's too much water leaving the place for that to happen.
Nice.
You'll see some of that stuff on Lake Erie, like, over here in the Detroit area. If we get a super hard east wind for 3 or 4 days, it'll tilt the lake. But as soon as the wind subsides, it's almost like a tidal effect. But on Lake St. Clair, no, it's not big enough, and there's just too much volume of water leaving the place.
Going in and coming out. That's awesome. Clarity wise, this stuff is like crystal. It's like blue colored, right?
Yeah, it is, depending on where you're at. The further north you are on the lake and the more out toward the shipping channel you are, you get more of that Lake Huron water. If you're on the south end of the lake or places where the water doesn't get, as much current flow, you can get greenish. There's marshes, there's backwater stuff. So lots of variety there.
So, speaking of backwater, a couple of years ago, I watched the MLF go into town there, and I watched Wesley Strader stay healthy through an MLF event on St. Clair on nothing but greenfish, man. He was hitting largies and doing well against the other guys that were going offshore. There is a population of greenfish in that water in certain areas that if you dial into them, you can get doing pretty well in there.
Oh, there's lots of them there. He actually caught those fish in Lake Erie, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those guys, that was in the lower Detroit River, right where the river meets Lake Erie. So I guess their rules are, as long as you launch at the same time, maybe similar to what you guys do.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter where you start from. But he ran out of them, he just didn't have 4 days worth. So
exactly. Generally,
they're not as big. You're not going to catch 5-pound largemouth here. Most of them are 2, 2.5, 3s, occasional 4. But in a cumulative weight thing, you can do well. As far as your guys, where you're just going for 5 with the inches, unless the weather's like super, super bad and you can't get out, it probably would not be the best, the best plan.
Right. Speaking of, what is the weather looking like coming in for this weekend here? I've been kind of tied up on my own stuff. I've not had a chance to look at the inbound weather. What have you seen anything of this coming weekend?
It looks like by the weekend we've got fairly light westerly winds, which is really good because all the wind's going to be coming offshore on the Michigan side. So that's going to protect everything that the guys are going to fish.
Nice.
So tomorrow it's 15 to 20 out of the north. So I've got to find a place to hide with these guys tomorrow. We had a phenomenal day today, but we also had beautiful weather, And tomorrow's a little bit different story. So we'll scratch them out tomorrow.
So, and I wanted to ask, I mean, you're a guru on this. You live with these creatures. Smallmouth, they can be some nomadic turds, man. Sometimes these guys just, you think you know where they're at, and the next thing you know, they pack up like a Native American tribe, and they move the whole village to someplace else. But sun, I've always subscribed to the deal that the more sun, the better with smallies. Cloud cover, I always struggled to catch them as much. Is there any truth to that, or is that just...
Well, I think at certain times of the year, I think where that is most important would be during the summer period.
Okay.
Like right now, the fish are all shallow. I mean, there's still lots of fish spawning. You don't have to go any deeper than 11 or 12 feet to do real well. But
Awesome.
During the summer period is when I think that sunshine and that stuff really starts to come into play. And for me, our summer phase doesn't really start here till, I don't feel they get into their true summer pattern till like mid-July.
Wow. Okay.
And usually the peak bite lasts, and they bite like they do in the spring and the summer here. I honestly believe it's one of the best summer lakes in the country.
That's awesome.
Maybe Thousand Islands in New York, can compare to it, or is actually a little bit better. But it lasts from about mid-July to mid-August.
That's awesome.
So,
I've
actually, I've got lots of clients who only want to come during that time of the year. The fishing's pretty easy. We're fishing deeper offshore, 16, 17, 18 foot, lots of finesse techniques, but good stable weather and pretty easy fishing, to be honest with you.
For sure. Now there's an area that's up to the northeast up there that's got a bunch of channels and canals and such running through there. And I've been told that there's a decent amount of current that's running through that area up there.
Oh, it rips through there. I mean, that's where, a lot of the water that's coming from Lake Huron comes from. I mean, when the St. Clair River branches out, you've got the north, the middle, south channel, St. Clair cutoff. So that's where virtually all of it goes into the lake. So and those areas become more important later in the summertime, when those fish relate to that current. And you got to remember, the fish in the lake, they don't all do the same thing. I mean, there's 5 or 6 distinct populations of bass depending on where where they live in the lake. They don't swim 20 miles to the current up there. Fish that live on the south end of the lake pretty much stay, down in that quadrant. And, fish behave differently there and actually look differently depending on where they're caught in the lake and where they actually live.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. I've always thought that as well. And in the kayak game, that becomes much more important because from the boat side, we could run like, say, a lake pattern. You know what I mean? You could cover a ton of water in a boat during a day. In a kayak, you have to do your pre-work and your study, way before. And then that pre-fishing becomes so important that you figure out an area. Because once tournament day starts, man, whatever area you're in, quadrant, that's it. You're there. What I mean?
I can imagine. You can't really just decide you're going to go 4 or 5, 6 miles over there. You're sort of committed to that area.
Yeah. It's too much travel there, and you're not fishing, and that's usually especially the guys in the All American. They'll take your lunch money in a hurry if you're not fishing against them. These guys are pretty serious. So with that closure piece, I'm assuming pressure right now in the lake is not really an issue. There's just going to be mainly just recreational fishing taking place, not as much.
Oh, it's busy here. I mean, This place has become the stomping grounds for all the states that connect to Michigan.
I see.
Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky is where most of the out-of-town boat traffic, and those guys just don't have the water like we do here. They don't have the opportunity for quality fishing. Right. Kentucky Lake has been ruined by the carp. Ohio has nothing. A little bit of Lake Erie down there and in the Ohio River. Indiana has one of the largest bass, federation membership in the country, and virtually no water. So, it's a place that gets a lot of out of town recreational anglers, and it is very busy in May and June.
Gotcha.
And I think once the easy fishing kind of goes away, which we're kind of just starting that phase, you can see the out of town traffic start to die off. And that's one of the reasons also the summer fishing has become some of my favorite. You got a lot less pressure, super good fishing, and not that I'm some expert or anything like that, but it takes a little bit more knowledge to stay on them. The fish become concentrated in key spots, and it's not as easy as just literally, like right now, you can go anywhere along the Michigan side and you're going to catch them.
Right.
I mean, it's easy fishing when they're spawning and post spawn and still shallow. It's it's not a difficult time.
Minnesota, a lot of times we'd see that when they would move into that summer pattern there, they'd get in those wolf packs. And so they weren't spread out as much. So when you found them, you could, get pretty healthy with them. But man, it took a while to track them down and find out where they're, they hunt in groups type thing. And it was kind of a trick to track that down, and they stayed on the move, day in and day out. So it was always a challenge there.
Yeah, they're doing the same thing here, just a bigger playing field, but it's that's exactly what's happening here too.
Good stuff. Wreck traffic. Is there much out there as far as recreational boaters, jet skis, that sort of thing?
Oh yeah. I mean, especially Michigan has more registered boats than I think any state in the country, and a lot of them are on Lake St. Clair. And the cruiser traffic, it can be awful. Wow. You've got those 30-foot cabin cruisers that are throwing off 3 and 4 foot wakes, and like anything, you're going to get people who don't have etiquette and will blow right by the kayaks.
Yep.
So.
Well, and it's always a thing. We always talk to guys about that when you're around that big water, watching for that traffic, man. Because literally here back in Colorado, we've had just in the past couple weeks, 2 of our state's more highly recognized and very experienced anglers have both flipped here recently. Different situations, but it's one of those things that when you think it's not going to happen to me. Our fishing kayaks are very, very stable, but man, it doesn't take much out there for, passing wakeboarders or cabin cruisers. That wake gets serious if it catches you off guard and you don't get your nose into it, man. It can get scary in a hurry. And there goes all your gear, at that point too.
Yeah, that's a tough deal out there. I mean, I see guys out there just about every day, and that's a big body of water with a lot of boat traffic to be out there. So
in a 12-foot little kayak for sure.
Right.
What are the water temps looking like right now? Kind of rangy.
We just got through with a big heat wave here. It was in the 90s for 7 straight days. So Our water temperature is up almost pushing 70 degrees right now, but we've got a little bit of a mild cold front coming. Things are sort of starting to get back to normal. And, it's like 67 today.
Nice.
Nice. Depending on where you're at, the closer you're out to the shipping channel or the further south on the lake you go, you get a little bit more inflow from the actual main shipping channel. But
right.
It's warm right now.
That water coming in, is it usually colder or warmer?
Oh, it's colder, definitely.
Colder. Gotcha.
Yeah. Right. Another big thing that's, going to really play an important role is we're just about ready to bust loose with the mayfly hatch here.
Oh, wow.
And it's very important in the smallies really focus on that.
Yeah, they do.
So, anything brown at that time of the year is what you want to be throwing. One of my favorite techniques when they start coming out is taking a little a little 2.75, like Strike King Rage Swimmer in green pumpkin, or any green pumpkin curly tailed grub, and just winding it in. You can be an 8-10 foot of water, and that thing can be a foot under the surface. But once the major hatches start, I truly believe that the bass are focused looking up. And
yeah.
You got to remember, all those mayflies are hatching out of the bottom. So when those larvae start rising from the lake bottom, a lot of them get eaten, high up in the water column. And once that starts, that's their main forage for a couple, 2-3 weeks. It can be great topwater fishing as well, if you get the right conditions, which is not easy on St. Clair. But if you get a dead flat calm day during this time of the year, that topwater bait is real good. But you don't work it like you're just barely moving it, because the fish actually thinks it's a fly.
Right.
They don't think it's a minnow. So, I'll use a pop-R type bait and just barely move the thing. And a lot of the takes are going to be soft. They're just going to come up and suck them in, and it can be a 4 or 5 pounder that just rises just like a trout.
That's awesome, man. We used to hit that mayfly hatch when we'd fish the Mississippi River over there in Minnesota. And dude, there were areas where, you couldn't drive through those, some of those back roads when those things were moving. And one of the tricks, old buddy of mine from up there, still a very good friend of mine, one of the tricks he showed me that it was passed on to him from an old guy. We come up to this little bank here, and there's a couple of these trees, and the mayflies are in there. Takes his fish, one of his fishing rods up in there, and smacks it around in the tree, and they just go scattering out down towards the water. He lets the boat drift back. We spot lock in place and then start casting up in there. It was nuts. Within about 5-10 minutes of those mayflies hitting, that area in there, it was crazy. Just smoking smallies left and right out of that area.
Right.
And it was just like, that is some old school stuff right there, man. Just chumming them in, using the environment. Good stuff.
Yeah, and the wind's going to be important as well, because the wind can actually, if you've got a gentle east wind, it can actually push them into the Michigan shoreline,
right?
And concentrate them in shallow. If you got a hard west wind, it can actually push a lot of them things out. And, the activity can vary from one day to the next, wildly, depending on the wind too.
I think, these are all these reasons why so many anglers do drink, because just when you think you got it figured out, Mother Nature will, here, hold my beer, throw something else at you, for sure. So listen, man, you stay wickedly busy, throughout the deal here. I just put up your website and such. It's the best way for folks to reach out to you. Do you still have stuff going for this summer here? Do you have options for folks to reach out to you and connect up? Or are you?
I do. I've got a couple, helpers if I'm not available for those days, and the guys that are part of my team are every bit as capable of me. We do a lot of corporate groups where we require 3, 4, 5 boats. And, so yeah, awesome. Summertime generally I'm busy, but it's, it may not be every single day, but, probably the best way too, you can go through my website, is to text me during, fishing hours. It's the best way to get a hold of me. Sometimes, I'm not the best secretary. I may not see an email for a day or two, and, I'm not blowing anybody off, but it's just when you're literally sleeping and fishing for a month straight. And this month of June, no kidding, I don't have a single day off for the whole month.
Oh my gracious. So right. Put your website up here real quick. All right, there we go. Take that down. So your website there, you can you got a scheduler built in, got the contact info right over here. You can kick on. Got Gerry's phone number right there. You can text him. There's the email if you got a couple days, but do the texting over to him, and then get you set up here. You got a great website, man. I love checking out all the different information that you put out there. It's super informative for sure. Photo galleries, can't beat those, man. Snatching up some of
A lot of good videos too.
A lot of good videos as well in there. Yep, good stuff.
I shoot with Joe Thomas of Steele's Reel in the Outdoors every year.
Oh, nice.
And we've done some great shows over the years, and he's a good friend of mine. And he's helped me get a lot of business through being a part of the show for, I think, 15 years now. So
that's awesome. That's good stuff. Well, listen, brother, I can't thank you enough for coming in here and sharing this. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot with this one here. And I'm not even gonna set it up right yet, but with that area being, it's so big around the lake there. But if you wanted to go get some good chow after a day of fishing, give me a couple names of some places that guys should absolutely, go check out. Any good favorite restaurants around?
There's a couple that are right in St. Clair Shores. Mike's on the Water. Okay. Which is right just south of 10 Mile Road.
Mike's on the Water.
Yep. It's a great little local spot. Reasonably priced food, but real popular with the locals there. Great atmosphere.
Good stuff.
And also there's a place called Fishbones.
Fishbones.
It's at 9 Mile and Jefferson, just south of where Mike's is at. And another real good spot. Got one of the best outdoor bars I have ever seen.
And that's Fishbones?
Yeah, Fishbones is a great place as well. So awesome. Those two places are within a half a mile of one another.
Good stuff.
And they're literally where a lot of the guys will probably launch at the 9 Mile ramp. It's right there.
Nice. That's awesome.
Literally as you come out of the boat ramp.
Well, and that's one of the cool things, as you know, man, when you travel around the country, and you're putting your head down and you're working, for 10, 12 hours on the water each day, you got to learn to, take in and smell the flowers every now and again and see these local areas. Cause we don't always get a chance to travel like that. So it is one of the cool things to sample the local cuisine, check out the area, see the stuff. So I always like to try to, check that out. I will say, we didn't get great reviews from the last place that we were referred to. There was a barbecue joint over in Lake Okoboji. It was okay. It was all right, but a couple guys on the trail are kind of barbecue snobs,
Sure.
With the initials of JB, he'll know exactly who I'm talking about. But nonetheless, yeah. So it's always cool to try to see, what's in the area there that you can take in. Well, listen, man, again, thank you so very much for sharing your evening with us here and for giving us some great information to kind of lead up to this thing. I'm excited to see this stuff coming out, see what the guys can do when they get there.
Well, hopefully the weather works out for them.
Yeah.
That's the biggest factor.
Wind always was a concern, even in a boat, but it's more of a concern in a kayak for sure. We have to watch that wind more than anything. Wind and lightning. Just don't play with those two things.
Sure. All right. Sure. Well, hey, I appreciate you having me on.
You bet, brother. We appreciate you taking the time here, and we will, I'm sure, folks, check out, let me throw this back up here. Check out GreatLakesBassFishing.com. Get a hold of Gerry. When you're up in the St. Clair area there, this is the dude you need to connect with. Go get yourself on some awesome fish and create some memories for a lifetime. Thanks, brother. We appreciate it, man.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. All right, folks. So that's the haze in the barn there. Now it's just up to the guys that are up north there to go get the job done. It's a lot of good encouraging things that Gerry's saying here, man, about where these guys are going to be, looking where the fish are at right now, and what they're doing up there. Should lead up to be just an amazing deal, and a lot of limits caught. And it's going to be about the quality again, similar to Boji, except just bigger, I think this time. We know we got several guys going up there that like chasing those brown fish around. So hopefully we'll see what comes out of this. And the weather stays with us, and things should be one heck of an event. Follow along at Tourney X, All American Kayak Series. If you haven't gotten signed up yet, absolutely do so. Go check the schedule. A lot of good fishing left to do, going to the Mississippi, going to Minocqua, Mindlands, then, of course, the championship down in Felsenthal Refuge. A lot of good season left to go here, and you don't have to travel forever and a day to get there on the majority of these. St. Clair's a little bit far away for most of them, but nevertheless, it's worth the run for that one. But that's one of the best things. And the payouts, dude. You're not going to find better payouts out there when it comes to a national trail for sure. So listen, folks, we appreciate all your likes, supports, follows. Make sure to smash the subscribe if you're following us at YouTube there. That is our main podcasting channel here. Like the All American page that is now out there. That is kind of a cool new thing we have for the forward facing, so the public can see what's going on out there. And yeah, man, that's the likes, follows, and shares. Those are great ways to help support and keep things moving. As always, we appreciate all of your support here at the True Patriot Outfitters Romans Warrior Foundation. That this bridging these worlds together is a mission. We're going to keep on doing it here. And as always, tight lines, be safe.